Welcome to a space where your story matters, your health matters, and your next chapter begins. Welcome to the All Things Menopause Virtual Summit. Let's begin your strongest season right now. Welcome, 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 and good morning. I am your host, Delana Watkins, and as you know, I am here because it's all things menopause. I'm so excited. So you guys know that I enjoy not only educating, but doing this, what I call edutainment, right? So today we're here, and although at certain points we will be laughing, enjoying, and having good girl conversation, at the end of the day, what led us here and why we're gathered in this space is because it's all things menopause. And I want to have that real, raw, and relevant conversation about menopause. And so you all know that I have been sharing about menopause probably for the last 7 or 8 years. And it started with my own personal journey and then evolved into this community that has just continued to grow. So again, I'm Delana Watkins, and I'm so grateful to have you here this morning. But I'm going to be joined by some amazing coaches, some amazing women that are clinicians that are bringing you what I like to call that real from the heart information today. And we're kind of just going to have that conversation that we all wish that we could have had before we started going through this journey, right? And so part of the goal is to make this conversation around our menopausal and our feminine evolution normalized, right? And so part of doing that is hosting these types of events where questions that you maybe haven't had answered, maybe there's thoughts that you didn't think to ask about. That is what this session will be about today. And so I'm coming to you in various points and different parts of the conversation because I'm bringing to you women that have a different journey and women that are, as I said, coaches, clinicians, and just simply having that lived experience. And so I want you to sit back, relax, hopefully take some notes, chime in, comment when something is relevant, comment when something is not necessarily understood, or you want further clarification about it. This is not, although we call it a summit, this is not very formal. You will see as I bring on my guests for today that it's very sisterhood, kind of a very sisterhood environment. And so I want to make sure that I do my due diligence by starting and setting that tone by inviting you in, welcoming you in this space for today. So we're going to set the intention so that it is a safe space for all of you that are joining me virtually live. And even if you're watching the replay, know that you're here and you're in this space, and it is a safe space and a community. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on social media at Delana Watkins, and then make sure that you are in our safe menopause group, Black Women in Menopause support group. There are over 10,000 women in that group, 10,000 women. And I have to say that has really grown because of my ability to make it feel safe, right? My ability to take advantage of the fact that there's that many women there that are willing to share about what they are experiencing, right? I know for me, my own personal journey was one where I felt like I was on an island by myself. And that was why I started that group. When I started it, it wasn't called the Menopause, Black Women in Menopause Support Group. It initially was She Is Well, right? That was the name of the group, is because I was wanting to create this environment. And one of the brands at the time was She Is Well. I really had no idea that it was going to evolve into the Black Women in Menopause Support Group. And with there being over 10,000 women in that group, that tells me that it honestly was necessary and needed. So I'm grateful to have built that community. I'm grateful that the women trust me enough to be in that group. So again, I want to welcome you into this space. You will find that again, the conversations that we're having are, you know, ones that we want us to have a better understanding about, so that when we're talking to our good girlfriends, when we're in the grocery store and we're talking with another woman, we will feel comfortable having these conversations. So that's why it's all things menopause. And I chose that title because we're going to be talking about, as I always say to women, everything from the top of your crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Why? Because menopause affects all of that and everything in between. So it really is relevant for us to have the conversation about all of those things, right? That are impacting us and impacting how we show up. And so for me, having this conversation and being very raw and open and organic about it is so important, right? Also, I want to say that the other piece of it is I feel like we need to kind of just quiet the noise, right? I feel like there's a lot of information that's being disseminated uh, before that than ever before, right? And so a lot of times when we're getting information and we don't know what's fiction or what's fact, what's relevant, what's irrelevant, what's pertinent, what's not pertinent, it begins to sound like just a bunch of noise. And so there's no inaction, right, on our part. And at this particular time, when we're going through this menopausal journey, everything needs to be relevant, right? Everything needs to be disseminated in a way that it's impactful to you. But when too much is coming at you and you don't know whether the source is trusted, then a lot of time there's no inaction on your part because you don't know what to believe and you don't know how to move. And so we're going to change that on today. Okay. So drop me some comments in the chat. Tell me where you're joining us from as I prepare to bring up our very first amazing speaker slash guest slash sister for today. So yes, good morning. I want to shout out some women that are joining us. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Akeisha. So good to see you all. I appreciate you joining me um, for this menopause, all things menopause, feminine evolution. Yes, Brandy, how are you? I am grateful to be here and looking forward to what we will learn. Yes, so strap in. Even if I know it's Saturday morning, I know a lot of us across the world are getting ready for this crazy weather system that we're preparing for. So I thought, you know what? They got to sit still today and listen to me, okay? They got to sit still. Even in Atlanta, you guys are going to get some crazy weather. Thank you for joining me, joining us here. Houston, New Jersey, wonderful. So again, thank you all for joining in on today. Drop your questions as you're listening to us on today. Drop your questions. You can even, there's a way that you can do it anonymously or in a private way through the chat if you do not want it to be shown. Okay. Um, there you go. We got Brandy here, local here in Baltimore. All right. So I am not going to delay this any further. I think the only thing that I did not say is those of you who are joining and you're listening in, there will be some giveaways, some prizes. We'll be sharing resources. So make sure that you are tuned in, right? You're listening. And I know a lot of times when we are doing specific things while we're listening to podcasts or virtual things, we may not all the way 100% be tuned in, but I will tell you, today is a day that you want to make sure that you're listening in, because we have some amazing people that will be joining us, as well as some amazing prizes and giveaway. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we got some amazing people joining us. Hey, Markel, how are you? All right. So I am not going to delay any further, because my first guest that I'm bringing up is so amazing. I actually met her through another menopause sister who is out there doing amazing work. And my first guest is Valeria Muhammad, and she is a board certified family nurse practitioner. And I am so excited that she said yes to this because there was something else that she was potentially going to be slated for today. And so when that didn't happen, I said, clap it up for me because I don't want to be selfish, Valeria, but I was so excited that you were available for this conversation on today, right? Because I enjoyed talking with you when we were doing the walk, right? We were there for a menopause walk. And it was just so refreshing when you can find someone who not only is in the same field of work, but has the
Mhm.
same passion and the same heart for women as you do. So thank you so much for joining me, Valeria. How are you on this morning?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm glad to be here. Sometimes things just always work out
Always work out. And I
because of
hate
the
to say it.
storm, right?
Yeah, right, exactly, right. And I hate to say it, but for me, things do tend to work out. I'm sure for that, right? Things do tend to work out for me because I really, really wanted you to be a part of this, and I wanted you to be able to share in certain discussions that we're going to have today because I like how you share information, right? Disseminate information as
Appreciate
well.
that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that and for your availability to join us. So without further delay, I want you just to kind of share, because you shared this with me when we were walking, just
Mhm.
very briefly, just share what your experience was with knowing that you were entering into the menopausal journey.
Um, yeah, so I think it was about 20, well, it was about 2023. I knew I was in menopause. I had went a whole year without a menstrual cycle or 365 days. And that's the one day you're in menopause and then everything
Yes.
is postmenopausal. So we just cut the post because it's just easier to say menopause.
Mhm.
But what had happened, it was a lot of symptoms that I was having, brain fog, anxiety, feeling like I didn't want to be here. It was just all these weird things happen, feeling like global sensation, feeling like something was stuck in my throat. My hair was falling out, all these things, vaginal dryness, decreased
Yeah.
libido. And I've never had a hot flash, right? So everyone thinks, oh, I've never been in menopause because I have never had a hot flash. If anything, I've had cold flashes. So I went to my healthcare provider, like, what is going on? And she
Mhm.
basically dismissed me. And she told me that I was doing too much. I was a little bit of stress. I needed to lose weight. And I felt like you didn't hear anything I said because you didn't ask me if I was trying to lose weight. I didn't say I was stressed, but you just went to that assumption. And I had asked
Mhm.
her, I'm a practitioner. So I had
Right.
asked her
Mhm.
personally to run some labs for me. And she basically was like, well, you can go to your GYN. And I looked at her. We do the same thing. She was also a
Mhm.
nurse practitioner. And when I deal with women, I will order hormone levels and different things. So I just decided to take my health into my own hands, instead of trusting someone else. So I ordered my own labs. I was taking functional medicine courses because I was trying to understand how to get to the root cause of things and treat people more holistically and naturally first, more preventative medicine before I had to deal with all the chronic illnesses. So it worked to my advantage that I had that extra education. And then I realized a whole lot about myself. So I
Right.
knew my estrogen level was below 5, which on their form says normal, but it's not optimal. So I look at levels and what is optimal for you. 5 was not optimal for me
Right.
because I
Mhm.
was managing 100 people a week in their care and family practice. So that's 20 people a day. So me not being
Mhm.
able to hear what they were saying, process
Mhm.
what they were
Mhm.
saying, I became more of a provider that was short. Like, listen, I only have one, like my brain couldn't handle it.
Uh-huh.
I just had to have a really radical, honest conversation with myself and said that I
Mhm.
wasn't okay. And I
Right.
think that's the most empowering thing. That's where my name came from, is that I
Yes.
realized that
Mhm.
something was wrong with me and I needed to
Yeah.
prioritize myself in order to take good care and continue to take care of people. And that's how Empower Her Health and Wellness was born, when I
Yeah.
decided that I could no longer function in that capacity of dealing with that many patients a week. And I made the biggest decision in my life
Oh
once
my.
I started feeling better and opened up my own practice, because what
Right.
I knew is if I felt like this, I have power of the pen. I can write, order labs, I
Hmm.
can do different things. But women that look like me, or all
Nope.
women, they don't have that power. And I
Right.
had to sit with that for a minute and just say, I have to help.
Yeah.
So that provider dismissing me, actually, I'm no longer mad at her. She did
Right.
the thing
She
that
did
she
the
did.
best that she. Yes.
She
Yes.
did the best, and she did the best that she could do at that moment, because
Mhm.
I became that way at one point, because
Right.
she might have been experiencing what I was, but I just could not function like that anymore. And not being able to cognitively process things because
Mhm.
of the severe brain fog of simple things like a UTI, like, wait, what medicine am I ordering? Something that I could do
Yeah.
off the top of my brain. I'm like, this isn't safe.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Especially in the realm of what we were, kind of working in. And again, so your story was very, very close to my experience and my story, except the part about being dismissed by my provider. Luckily, she looks like me and she was willing. She had to admit
Mhm.
that she had no clue what was happening. But what she said to me was, and I always get so emotional around this. She said, Delana, we will figure this out together. She
Right,
had no clue, but she knew me because she had been my provider for so long and she was willing to work with me to figure it out because I just felt like, somebody who is, at the time I was working in a position that required me to, just like you, be
right.
very on top of it, on top of my game. So, with all that being said, I'm sure that there are women who are listening to us that are tuned in that probably at some point have felt the same as it relates to your journey of going through this now feminine evolution of feeling
Mhm.
like you're not 10 out of 10 when it comes to focus, that you're not, on the top of your game, that you just don't feel like yourself in certain aspects of who you are. And so that tends to, kind of make us feel less empowered. And
Right.
then I want to bring up another point, and this is going to move us into your discussion. And that is, you said you had your estrogen level drawn, and it was a 5. And according to what the lab was saying, right, or what the lab results showed, a 5 meant that you were what?
Normal. In the
Normal,
normal
right? And
range.
let's do the air quotes
Right.
again, meant that you were
Normal.
normal, right? Not optimal, but
Right.
normal because you fell in the range of what the lab said was normal.
Right.
Okay. So I want you to now go into the discussion of hormones, hormone testing, and then why women should realize what is optimal and then operating in that. Okay. So spend a few minutes just talking to us about hormones, the importance of hormonal ranges, and then being optimal versus normal.
So, and then let me just take a little bit of back. As a nurse practitioner, I might have had maybe 3 hours of training on menopause and
Yeah.
perimenopause, and gynecologists, where everyone thinks that they only have about 5 or 6 hours.
Yes. Thank you for
So
making that point. Yeah, absolutely.
you
Mhm,
can't,
mhm.
it's not all like they don't care. It's just that they don't know. And taking that next step to educate yourself is what we should do as providers, is figure out when something's not right. I might not have the answer at that moment, but we're going to figure it out together. And that is the most important thing for me as a provider, because I took an oath to do no harm. To me, not addressing what's wrong with someone is doing harm and not taking that extra step. So, hormones, we're often hearing about, oh, this hormone are optimal, but just clarifying that you have stages. So, you have the perimenopausal stage, you have menopause, and then you have postmenopause. And depending on certain things, you have women that prematurely are put into menopause either by surgical intervention, by having their ovaries removed due to other things, or hysterectomy with the oophorectomy, where they take your ovaries out. Um, and then you have women who start perimenopause or menopause in their 40s. So what happens in the perimenopausal age, and that can start as early as 30. So you can have women who are postmenopausal, premenopausal, and in perimenopause and postpartum. So you can still have children during this time. And that is like the zone of chaos. So your brain, what happens is your ovaries, you're born with all the ovaries that you can ever have when you're born at that critical point around 30. And it happens with Black women early, around 30. So we just don't talk about it. We kind of suffer in silence. Then our eggs get to a critically low supply. So then our brain starts working overtime to start producing more immature eggs. And then that's when you see the progesterone. And I look at it. So we're going to talk about estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Progesterone is usually the first to decline, but progesterone is your calming hormone. It calms you down. So that's why you see a lot of the mental health, anxiety, depression, rage, all these things go on because your body is trying to produce more eggs, but the brain doesn't like disorganization. So when progesterone levels drop, you have your serotonin receptors, you have your oxytocin, you have all these neurotransmitters that usually keep us happy and calm and bonding. They're also declining. So a lot of times we don't even know what's going on. And then you get to a point where then the estradiol starts to drop. So estrogen, it's in different forms. The one that we mostly talk about is estradiol. That is our gas pedal. That's what gives us mental clarity, compassion, energy. It protects us in a way where it's very anti-inflammatory. So we don't have that huge inflammatory response. So when that starts to decline and you have that fluctuation of estrogen and progesterone, then our body starts to do all these things that we're not used to, because you have an estrogen receptor on every cell in your body. So if I walked into my primary care office and I was saying, yeah, I feel like I have anxiety, but at the same time, I have palpitations. But now my skin is dry, my hair is falling out. It just doesn't seem, or I have ringing in the ears, or I have this ringing, this tingling sensation. Or sometimes I'm short of breath. They'll look at you, and the first thing they're like, okay, we need to send her somewhere. But in my world, it all makes sense because that's what's happening. Every system is affected. So as those levels drop, then your body will start to make estrone. It's like the sluggish kind of estrogen, where that's really coming from your adrenal glands once you don't produce eggs anymore. So you still produce a little bit of estrogen, but it's called estrone. And then you have estrogen, where it's only when you're pregnant. So those are how estrogen works in the body. And then testosterone, yes, I don't think women know that that is the most predominant hormone we have. We have more testosterone than we have estrogen, because testosterone is the precursor to estradiol. So understanding how hormones all work together, then women can understand why you have the effects on your brain, why you would have hot flashes, why you would have all these things, is because of that fluctuation. So when I look at labs, yes, technically normal is when your estrogen level drops to 5, your progesterone level drops, you no longer produce eggs. If we're doing this naturally, like in my case, it was a natural thing, not surgical or anything like that. That means that you have total ovarian failure. We no longer produce any eggs. The body is not preparing for pregnancy. However, all the other things that estrogen does is now affected, or the estradiol, because we don't have that on board anymore. So you ever get those achy bones, all that anti-inflammatory effect, frozen shoulders, no longer do we have that protection. So then you have the brain fog, all these things happen. So optimal for me, when
Mhm.
my levels are now at 60, my level is 60, and now I can think. I don't have
Mhm.
the inflammation around I don't have those belly fat, or you
Right.
can get the visceral fat that wakes up. Now all of a sudden women are like, why is my stomach so
Why's
big?
my stomach?
Where
Where did this come
did
from?
this
Right?
come from?
Yes.
Because your brain
Mhm.
and your gut, they are like, your gut is like your second brain. So if you're not protecting the gut and eating things a certain way, now we're not even be able to metabolize estrogen because we don't have the proper gut health. And then we get this belly fat and all these things. So keeping women at an optimal level, for me, it was my brain. I want my brain,
My
my
brain, I need
pancreas,
my brain. That
and my
was like the
heart.
frustrating.
Right,
It was the brain and the visceral changes for me
right,
that I think just threw me for a loop. Someone who physically has always not had an issue. It was the visceral and it was the brain. So I'm
right,
looking at some of the comments, and I'm sure that the women that are on here that are like listening, everything that you're talking about is being pretty much confirmed, right? So we have a few women on here that were talking about commenting about the pain, the anxiety, and the depression. Marjorie, the feeling of anxiety and depression was it for me. Had no clue what was going on. And that can be
right.
so scary when it just kind of comes out of nowhere. The
Out of nowhere.
anxiety for me. Yeah. And so, again, somebody else who was talking about the muscle pain. So Markel, who's confirming with Heather, who mentioned about the muscle pain. And look at what Markel said. I thought I had MS.
Mm-hmm.
How scary is that, right? Because some of these symptoms can present like other issues.
Right. And the importance of drawing labs, and not just your hormones, but your inflammatory markers, all these labs, is because brain fog can come from decreased vitamin D level, not
Mhm.
having your thyroid optimized, not having good gut health, not having enough testosterone, and not having estradiol. So you have to dig a little bit deeper and figure out what's the root cause of all of it, right?
Of all of
Or
it.
insulin resistance, aka polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yes. Yeah. PCOS. So here's Heather. Oh my God, the tingling sensation. I thought I was having a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who the same thing, and they worked her up for that, thinking that she was having a stroke because of the complaints of what she was feeling at the time. And
So
so
with
just listening
estrogen,
to
one of the things, it can irritate nerves. So that's why
mhm,
she's doing, because of the inflammatory response. You don't have that protection going through the neurotransmitter or through the neurons. So you get that tingly feeling. And that's why you have that. And then all of a sudden it'll go away. And then
right,
another symptom will come. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
right. See, so all of this information now, this is just her sharing this part. So I want to kind of bring it back home and just segue real quick, right?
Mhm,
Before we bring on the next speaker. I want to, because this has been something that has been talked about for just the last couple of months. Menopause, again, as I said, you can get a lot of information. Let's talk about, because I feel like this is very relevant for you to share. You just talked about how hormonal balance is so important, right? Because it
right,
affects everything from the rooter to the tutor, pretty much, right?
right.
From the top, the
From
crowns of
the
your head
head
to the
to the
soles of your
bottom of
feet,
the feet.
right? Bottom of your feet and everything in between. So recently, there was, and we're going to talk about this a few different ways today,
Mhm,
the black box warning that was removed, right? And so you talked about how in the African American community, we enter into perimenopause much sooner than other women.
mhm,
So therefore, because of the black box warning, years and years and years ago, over 20 something years ago, there was one statement that was made that left us with the reservation of even having the conversation around hormone replacement therapy or HRT. So give me just a little bit of insight as to number one, why that black box warning was ever placed there.
And that's an excellent question, and it really should be represented. And so I said my estradiol level is now at 60 because I take bioidentical hormone replacement therapy where I use estradiol, and I use a cream. You can use it in a patch in different ways. And I like to talk about that in a way where women should have all options. We can't have that dogmatic society, like, I'm going to do everything this way, I'm going to do everything that way. Women have options and everyone's different, and you have a right to choose what you want to do. But I use estradiol. There was a women's health initiative study done in 2002 where it led a report that prescribing estrogen has an increased risk for breast cancer, heart disease, strokes, and blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
It was retracted once they realized the study was actually stopped at one point. It was the largest study ever done on women ever, and it was actually stopped before it ended because of some of the reports that were coming out. But what they don't tell you is the women that were in that trial, no perimenopausal women. If you had any symptoms, you were excluded from the trial. And they started it on women age 64. I can actually remember an episode where now I know I probably was in perimenopause when I was 35. It was just, I had a rage episode. I'm not even gonna go into details. And I realized later on, like, that was probably what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the age appropriate women. So of course, if you're 64 and you are at an estradiol level of 5, you probably have anti-inflammatory things going on, also heart disease, pre-diabetes. All of these things have already happened to you already. So they did not use bioidentical or chemically similar estrogen and progesterone. They use synthetic. That it's like when you use estrogen, it's like a lock and key, as the simple. What your body produces is what you put. That's the most natural thing you can do, is put back into your body what your body is losing. That's all it is. And it's chemically structured the same. So put a key. My key works. You ever bent your key before and you're praying with the door open, or you're like, oh gosh, that's what synthetic is. It doesn't metabolize quite the same as something that actually naturally does. So they gave the women synthetic progesterone, which is Premier, which was actually mare's urine. That was the estrogen component. And then anyone takes Depo-Provera, that's synthetic progesterone. And that's what they used. So of course, those were not naturally what the body was going to do. So they got those results and they gave it in one format, and that was oral. So those were what was causing the increase. Actually, estradiol is a 50% decrease in breast cancer reduction. So all these years, they withdrew that almost a week later, but no one reported on that. So you have gynecologists, you have primary care physicians, everybody just ripping stuff away from women, and then women just left because they were afraid, fear. They were afraid. And then now the black box warning was, this can cause breast cancer. This can cause stroke. This can cause heart disease. So women are like, I'm not going to take anything that's going to cause breast cancer.
And especially us who are at high risk for that. Like, we're already naturally
negative.
You know,
so it was really one of the saddest things that happened to women. And that black box warning was women, providers, physicians, everybody speaking up, saying, no, we have the data, we have the proof that this is actually protective. If you go on estrogen replacement therapy, now my bones are stronger. You don't hear any brain fog coming out of me now. Yeah, you're nervous. This is a new platform. Exactly. But I know I'm very sound. I understand myself. I'm not embarrassed that I can't remember what I was about to say anymore. I lost weight. All these things have happened to me because of estrogen and progesterone. Because if you have a uterus, you need to take them both together, and I still do. But that helps me sleep.
Right.
And to the point where my husband's like, "Did you take your progesterone? Like, did you take your?"
Did you get
He knows if
sleep?
I don't get any rest, I'm like, "Oh gosh."
You're not
Like,
gonna be right regulated.
right,
Yeah.
I need to be
So
regulated, and it calms me down. It rests my brain. When you're a person, and a lot of women in your professions in midlife, that's when we're at the
that's when
top
we're
of
at
our
our peak.
game.
We need to be
We have done all the things,
mhm.
and now I can't function. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, that's
So
not fair.
I
I
need
gone all this
to,
time.
right, shut my brain off. And then testosterone, I don't use it, but for women who may need to use it, libido is one thing, but that
Mhm,
actually helps with mental clarity. It helps
mhm.
with your bone strengthening, so we don't have the sarcopenia where you have the bone loss. These are some things that women have the option to use. If they don't, that's fine, but let's tell the truth. So that's
Right,
why the box was the label was removed, because it's false. It's not correct information. It was incorrectly reported.
right.
And now you have women having options. And that was exciting for me, because I have clients and I'm like, listen, I show them the research, but that they were like, but it causes breast cancer,
This is
right? So that's what
yeah,
that.
and that's your usual response.
Mhm.
So as I wrap up, I'm gonna put Valeria has some resources that I'm gonna drop in the chat that you all can click on and go to and see some resources, as well as her contact information, because this is very imperative that we understand. We need to make sure that we are given the proper information that is disseminated to us in such a way that we all clearly understand that although there are certain risks for certain individuals, and we're not here to say that hormone has
Right.
this, that it's safe and it's effective for everyone. What
Right.
I am here to tell you is this: make sure that you are empowered, that you have the proper information. Because in the opening of her session, she talked about how hormones impact just about everything that we're experiencing and we're feeling. They're the drivers of how we will experience menopause. They
Mhm.
must be optimal, not normal, optimal, right? For us to really feel really at our optimal selves, right?
Right.
And the only
Right.
way to get that is to have those levels, make sure that they are understood. And then if they're not there, that they are being replaced in such a way that is effective and safe for you. And so
Mhm.
part of it starts with understanding that black box warning. So that is why I wanted you to kind of break that down. And then we're going to go into it a little bit more with one of my other guests that we'll have on a little later about what that meant and how that impacted us as black women. So
Mhm.
Valeria, thank you so much again for
You're welcome.
joining me. And thank you so much for that honest and open conversation about
Mhm.
just hormones, the impact of hormones, and how women that look like us are impacted by it, because we need to be able to have that conversation and not feel like we're going crazy, right? Because that's truly what
Right.
happened to me. I
Right.
felt like I was this close to having a nervous breakdown,
Right.
having to leave corporate because I had to every day be on my A game and I wasn't. And so
Same.
that was very,
Same.
yeah, it was um, very difficult for me to deal with. And it was at the height of my life, it was at the height
Mhm.
of where I was accomplishing things. So, and just looking at the comments in the chat, everybody's saying, thank you so much for sharing the
You're
information,
welcome.
Valeria. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
me. And you all, her information is in the comments for her resources and different things that she is offering through Empower Her. So yes,
Can I
education is so
just
important.
let you know a big surprise?
Yes,
So I'm
always.
licensed. So I am licensed in Delaware. I see patients in Philadelphia, Delaware, and Jersey. They come to my office, but I have just been recently licensed in Maryland. So I'm telehealth,
Woohoo!
even if you don't
Yes.
even have to leave your couch. So I
Let me
needed to
see where my
expand a
hand claps at.
little.
Yes. You see that? I'm gonna do that one more again. That's the hand clap. So thank you so much, Valeria. So you
You're
heard that.
welcome.
If you're local to this area, Valeria will be doing some work here in the DMB area. All right. Thank you so much, Valeria,
You're
for
so
joining.
welcome.
I appreciate you. All right, ladies. So that was one of our first guests. And, I always get so intense. We went a little bit over, but I feel like that conversation was necessary and needed as part of that whole black box conversation around where we are and what we're doing and just being informed. So, again, thank you so much, Valeria. All right. So, real quick, I got to do a virtual giveaway. We got to keep this, kind of like very interesting to make sure you guys are tuning in and that you're listening. I want you guys to tell me when we were talking about what's optimal, what was the level that Valeria said her estrogen was when she was normal? What was the number that her estrogen was at when she was normal? So I'm going to monitor the chat as I look to bring in my next guest, which is Mahisa. She is our mental health motivator. She's the mental motivator. Mahisa is the mental motivator. Ooh. Okay, Brandy. Brandy was the first one. Okay, y'all were really listening. Brandy, Markel, Akeisha, everybody got it. Yep. 555. So her estrogen level was at a 5, which was quote normal, but to be optimal, she is now at 60. So that is a huge, huge difference. Okay. That is a huge difference. All right. So Brandy, you won. Akeisha, yours was right. We got you on here. Pretty much everybody that answered had it correct, that it was 5. So what are you winning? You want to know what you're winning, Brandy? What you winning? Drum roll. You will get a stack of my Feminine Evolution Menopause Empowerment cards. So, Brandy, I will reach out to you and get your information, and you will receive the Feminine Evolution Empowerment cards. These are them right here. And these help you throughout your journey, help you to really stay empowered. And so I will be sending that out to you. Congratulations, Brandy. Everybody give Brandy a round of applause. Same thing. Let's give her a round of applause. Woo. All right. So as we bring up our next guest, the mental health motivator, Mahisa Green, I want you guys to strap in. Why? Because we talked about how brain fog can be so impactful. I've shared before about, my journey and how I ended up leaving corporate. This wasn't it was the primary reason, but not the only reason. I mean, I, just kind of wanted to expand in my business. But one of the reasons was because brain fog was becoming such an issue for me. And at the time, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that I was not myself and I was having difficulty concentrating. Things that I should know, things that should be readily accessible and available to me as far as recall, just was not there. And that was very frustrating for me in the role that I was in at that time in healthcare. So Mahisa's going to break it all down. She's going to kind of come on here and give us the encouragement and the information that we need, because I know that the majority of us, that as I'm looking, all of you women that are joining us today, I know that we are all juggling various roles and that we're all still in the workplace or in entrepreneurship or sometimes both. And so we need to feel as though we have that mental stamina, right? That mental ability to still function and still be great at the things that we are called to do. And so, Mahisa, AKA the mental motivator, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. How
How
are
are you?
you?
I am good. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, because I know you're always like all of
Yes.
us, kind of juggling things, getting things done. Both of us becoming GGs like within the last,
Come on
couple of
now.
months. So,
Come
that's a
on.
whole nother, part of our brain that it, calls on energy as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And I want you just to kind of lean in and kind of soften this conversation a little bit around our mental health and our mental wellness. And what does that look like? That resiliency.
Yes. Yes. I'm so prepared. I've been listening in and Delana, I'm so excited because you always know how to make things flow.
Yeah.
Come in after her was like, I'm so ready. I'm listening and I'm excited. And because I first want to start off by telling women, you're not broken. Like, let's get this together right now. Midlife for us is not when we fall apart. It's when everything that is hidden finally comes out and is speaking to us.
Mm-hmm.
You ever look in that mirror and it's like, oh yeah, this is what they were talking about, right? So I love talking about this, and especially with you. I call you my goat, my menopause goat, because I didn't know what I was going through, right? And millions of women all over experience this thing like anxiety, mood swings, brain fog. And that's what she was talking about. And I was so excited that I had a doctor that was able to walk me through it at an age that it should have already been already talked about. Right. So many of us chalk it off as it's just stress, but actually it's a hormone shift that's happening within our bodies. And I want to let the ladies know out there that you're not weak, right? Our brain and your nervous system is just is recalibrating right now, almost like that car. And if you out there and you're listening, which I hope you are, just type a me or give me some type of something in a chat to let me know if you've ever kind of felt like this emotional anxiety, forgetfulness that we're talking about, the brain fog, the overwhelmed in this last year, right? They said 2025 was the year of the snake, and now we're in the year of the horse. And I don't know about you, but I've experienced it all in this one year. So I'm so excited about the last wonderful guest. I'm glad she's licensed in Maryland now, right? So we can go ahead and find her. But she talked about the estrogen levels, Delana, and she talked about how it affects our dopamine and our memory and all of the above, that all of these lead to anxiety, being irritable, panic attacks. Nobody talks about that. Low motivation, depression, and brain fog. I'm happy to tell you that I have an estrogen patch because I had a nurse and a doctor who walked me through what I was really going through when I actually thought that I was going absolutely crazy. So I'm here to let you know that this is not a mental illness, but it is a biological shift that needs support. So I'm here to tell you in this short period of time, I'm going to tell you about, two things. I'm going to tell you about the mental health traps of midlife, right? Real quickly. And I'm just going to give you some tips of how to get through it. Okay. So with this, Delana, the midlife trap, right, that we go through, I believe the first one is the silent struggle.
Come
Some of
on now.
you may know what I'm talking about with this silent struggle. This is when I don't want to bother anybody, right? Women in our midlife, we often are caregivers, we're parents, kids going off to college. We emotional anchors for the entire family. We're leaders in this industry, Delana. We're leaders. Come on, I see Felicia. We're leaders at work, and we're problem solvers for everyone else except for ourselves. But menopause makes emotional load harder to carry because we're trying to get through this ourselves while juggling all of these things.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
what people don't know is that you talked a little bit about it. We by ourselves crying alone. Why am I crying? Pretending everything is fine because we look good. Okay, face beat. We here this morning, but you don't know what I had to go through this morning to even get here talking to myself. Exhaustion. Okay, I had to start taking progesterone because I could not sleep. Sleep is important, and feeling invisible, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what I'm going through,
Ooh,
right?
come on, y'all. Drop it in the chat because I know you speaking to some ladies. I
On now,
know
come on
this
now.
real and raw.
And
Come
it's
on now.
dangerous, Delana, because our nervous system is saying, I'm alone, but you're not surrounding yourself around people, and we're not talking about it. Okay, we're not talking about it. So that increases the anxiety even more. I love that she's talking about the anxiety, the migraines that are happening, and you thinking, what's going on? And you just need support that you're not weak. It's biologically necessary that we talk about this thing. Right? So it takes us
Yes.
to number two. I'm only going to give you three, and I'm going to just tell you how to get through it. The
All
second
right,
is the
y'all. Get ready. She gonna give them to you.
I appreciate that. Number two is the identity crisis. Who am I now in this midlife role shift? Right? My body's going through this. The kids are growing up. Relationships are changing. Careers are evolving. My body's changing. My energy is changing. You talked about this, Delana, where our career is here, but the motivation and energy is here. It's not matching.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
everybody's like thinking we should be like this because there's great things happening, but our energy level is like, yo, I just want to be alone right now. Right?
Mm,
So if you know
mm,
what I'm talking about out there,
yeah.
somebody talk to me. Your old identity no longer fits, but the new one hasn't fully formed. We have to
Mhm.
embrace where we at right now. And the only way to embrace it is to not be by yourself while you're embracing it. That's why I'm so honored to be here with you,
Mm,
Delana, talking about this.
mm,
Because when we can get through this, we can eliminate some of that anxiety. We can
mhm.
build back up our confidence because we lose it when we feel like, I don't know who I was before, but this is a new person. I don't know what this is. You're
Right.
starting to feel irrelevant, like nobody really understands. And grief, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
because grief is not about just losing a loved one. How about we're grieving because we're losing that old identity? So
Come
I
on.
want you to,
Come
I want
on.
to let you know, come on now, you're not losing yourself. You are shedding what no longer belongs to you. Let that old version go
Mm.
and embrace this beautiful part of who you are. And
I
my
get
last one,
so emotional
come on
just thinking
now.
about like this conversation that you're having
Don't
right
start with me.
now. If I had had this conversation
Thank you.
when I was climbing that mountain and not understanding, because my mom is no longer with me. So I really didn't have that. My mom was in healthcare, she was a nurse. And now that I am more informed, right? I now know that my mom probably wouldn't have been able to help me because she couldn't
Isn't
even
that
make
right?
out what she was going through. And now that
Exactly.
I have this knowledge, my mom struggled and suffered. I know that she did because
We
I
can
now
look at
have
that
a better
now.
I have a better understanding and insight into it. And when I'm checking these boxes, I'm like, yup, yup, yup. She did that.
She's
Yup,
been
yup,
through
yup.
that.
She went through that. Yup, yup, yup. Right. And there's some of it that I can relate to. There's others where I'm just
Oh
like, it's
gosh.
hindsight. So, ladies, as you listen to Mahisa and as you listen
Come
to us
on.
and all things menopause, I want you to know, and even if you have to cry it out right now to say, thank y'all for making me know that
Yes.
I'm not broken and
Yes.
that I'm
I'm
not
not
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, and that I was able to show up 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago
Two
as a
minutes ago.
different person, 2 minutes ago, right? As a different person. And when I
Yes.
tell you, I was literally climbing this mountain, right? I was in corporate. I allowed myself to slide back down on the other side because I kept saying, I'm not going to fight this and
Mm,
fight that and not know what it is. I'm rather going to lean into it, figure out what is going on because I know there's a different version of me on the other side. And I
mm.
thank God that I did because
I
in
love
that
that.
journey, sis, I'm still freeing. And this is fast forward 5 years later. I am
I
still
know.
freeing
I
women
know it's
because
real.
there was no safety net for me.
I know
None.
it's real, Delana. I know
Yeah,
it's real
it's
because it
crazy.
goes into the guilt cycle,
Yeah.
right? And the guilt cycle, Delana, is when we believe, and you
Mhm.
notice we talk about this all the time, that I should be able to handle this.
Mhm. Yes.
I should be able to juggle all of these things. I
Mhm.
should be able to do this. Like, what's going on? If you out there and you've been through this and you're talking about what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I do this? I used to do this. I used to
Right.
be able to run up and down the street and run up and down the road, right?
Mhm.
But at this point, you cannot feel guilty for wanting rest, like you said, for
Yes.
not wanting to
Yeah.
fight. I'm not
Yeah.
fighting this anymore. For needing space,
Right.
I'm in this new place in my life of really having a space of saying
Mhm.
no because it's a
Yeah.
complete sentence.
It's a
And I
complete
talked
sentence.
about this at your conference the other day, asking for help
Yeah. Yeah.
and not
Listen,
being,
that's my superpower now,
come on
right?
now.
It used to be that, I got it. Oh, I got it. No, I got it.
Yes.
Now my superpower is asking for
How
help,
can we
right?
do it together? How
How
can
can we
you
do it
help me?
together?
How can I
Mhm.
help you? How can
Yeah.
we barter, however you want to say it,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
guilt keeps us from over functioning while under healing because we in this guilt cycle that we should be the same that we were when we were 25. And that
Correct.
is so not true. And I just want to let them know, I'm just going to give you this real quickly. If you don't remember anything before I leave here, I want you ladies to understand, and I don't care who's watching, even the men, because you need to know it for your wives and
Yeah,
for your
because I was getting ready
spouses,
to say
right?
real quick
Come
before you
on
say
now.
that, I want to
I need you
acknowledge
to
that
understand
Dan
this.
Robb.
I
Yeah.
want you to use the acronym SAFE, okay? And I want them to notice, Delana. S is for slow the nervous system down,
Mhm.
okay? I want you to take 5 deep belly breaths, Cold waters on the wrist to calm yourself down. Delana and I know this. We do 10-minute walks, gentle stretching, right? It's so simple. Slow the nervous system down. A, acknowledge what you feel. You are not crazy.
Mhm.
Unprocessed emotions become anxiety and depression. And so we keep getting this all mixed up. If we can deal with where we at and start to process that with others, then we may not need certain medications for the anxiety and depression. Now, shout out to those who are that please been there, done that. But if we can deal with where we at and talk about it more, instead of I'm fine, you say, you know what, Delana, I'm overwhelmed right now. I really don't know what I'm feeling. Okay.
That's
F,
it.
Delana knows this because
Mhm.
that's my transformation queen. We do this every time. Fuel your body because
Fuel.
we are losing things.
Mhm.
Low blood sugar is mood
Mhm.
swings.
Mhm.
Dehydration, please, water leads to anxiety. And poor sleep leads to depression. I
Yes.
need you to understand that. F is for fuel your body, okay? So midlife mental health starts in the body. Protein, water, magnesium, movement, sunlight. And last but not least is E, express, right? Suppressed emotions make
Mhm.
menopause worse. When express yourself through
Mhm.
journaling, prayer,
Mhm.
therapy,
Yes.
coaching, sisterhood, with Delana,
Mm.
with myself, with the others, have a voice and don't be afraid. This is a midlife reset for you ladies. And I just
Mhm.
want you to know it's time for
I
you to
love that.
reclaim your season that you are in because
Mhm.
you are being called to release people, the people pleasing. You are being
Mhm.
called to heal that childhood wounds at this time. I don't know who you are and who I'm talking to. You are being called to
Mhm.
redefine what love is in your life and what it is to be loved. You are being called to redesign your future. The kids are gone. Wherever you are at
Mhm.
in your life, redesign what your future looks like because it doesn't look like your past. And last but not least, choose yourself without an apology.
I
I thank
love
you.
that.
I
That
am
is
here for
so
you, my dear.
empowering. Yes, I love that. So I'm just gonna look at a couple of the comments. Some of
Let's
them I
do
feel
it.
like it was resonating with individuals.
Yes, the
So
comments are come. Thank you
the
so much,
comments are
y'all.
coming. Yep. And here, D. Evans, I've always been confident and sure about who I am, knowing where I want to go, not really sure now.
I love
Menopause,
that.
midlife, or the climate and times of the world right now. And I'm going to just say for you, it's probably a combination of all of those
Yes, it
things.
is.
And I want you to lean in and acknowledge that, right? I think that when we question, it leads us to now know that it's top of mind, that we can lean into it, and then it will allow us to begin to try and figure it out. And that will lead us to the
Yes,
answer, right? Which is likely
you
what
got
led
this.
you to come here today, right? To be here, to get some affirming, get some confirmation and information around what you're experiencing. Because if we, like Mahisa just said, if you suppress it, what? You can't address it.
You can't
So if
address
we
it.
suppress it, we can't address it. If we don't question it, it'll never be answered. And so this is all about the empowerment of knowing and understanding, and then being able to, when you walk into your practitioner's office, come in and talk with your chest, right? Come in and talk with your chest and the heart that's in your chest, and have a feeling that this is what I know I'm experiencing, but I know that I don't like what I'm feeling. And
Mm,
so I need for you to work with me so that I can have a better experience
yes,
around what it is I'm feeling, right? And experiencing. So that's
yes,
one of the key things that we want you to make sure that you walk away from today, from the all things menopause, is that no one knows you better than you. And
that's
when
it.
you have a question, and this is something I used to always tell my kids, if you got to think about it twice, or if it's a question in your mind, address it. Know that there is something. You know yourself. So you know that if it doesn't feel right, then I want you to become your own PI, your
Yes,
own private investigator, and
yes,
figure that thing out, right? Solve that mystery. Make sure that you're feeling empowered and that you're feeling better about the situation. And if not, we have, I'm a source but I'm also plugged into the source. Okay.
That's
And
right.
so therefore I can get you connected to people. If your own practitioner, you feel like maybe isn't hearing you, or, isn't giving you the solution that you need, I will make sure that you get the advocacy that you deserve, and even the clinician or the representation or the support that you deserve.
You're
Okay.
not alone,
Because,
D.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's
You're
see
not
what else we
alone.
got.
Let's bring it on.
Yes. Oh, we got Kimberly saying yes to the midlife reset.
Yes,
Kimberly gonna
midlife
close us out
reset.
with that sacred transition to today. So you guys, we are just coming at the height of it. Yep. So Marjorie, I think, was identifying what you were saying about the safe expressing acknowledgement, feeling your body and
Yes,
expressing yourself.
yes,
All of that is important. And then D Evans, again, she was saying, no doubt about it, I definitely know myself, and I lean on my intuition and my God first. The rest follows, so I am good. I absolutely love that. Yes. I mean, we have to acknowledge where we are and what
yes,
we've been in. So she appreciates the feedback and the love.
yes.
Yes. So Mahisa, thank you so much
My
again
God.
for your insight in joining us and just being, I always say real, raw, and relevant, right? Real,
Come
raw,
on.
and relevant, because we don't need any fluff. And part of it is we also know, like I said before, at some point today, I was talking about how, you can't turn on the TV now or go on social media or the radio without hearing something about, menopause this and menopause that. And so what I don't want is, I don't want for this topic to become like block out the noise. I don't want this
Yeah,
topic to
like this
become,
cliche.
yeah, like it's so much. I don't want it to become like a news cycle. I don't want it to just become a 60-second soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
This feminine evolution affects the remainder of who we are and who
Yes,
we
it
will
is.
show up as women. And so that to me is super important. And so we have to make sure that the information that we're getting comes from a good source, and that we feel
Absolutely.
comfortable talking about it.
Yes,
Okay.
let's keep
So
doing the great work. I'm so happy to be there. Here, I got my sisters watching from all over, and it's so
absolutely.
fun to
Yeah.
have that real conversation. So thank you so much. They know where to contact me at. They
Oh
go
yeah.
to
Oh no.
Delana.
I'm what they know where to contact you, but I'm gonna make sure they know where to contact you. What's before you leave off of my stage, they gotta see it's Mahisa Green. She's on Instagram at Your Mental Motivator. So if you are all on your smart phones, your smart devices, make sure you go and follow her now at Your Mental Motivator. It's Mahisa Green, or you can just simply Google her, because she is out there in the places, in the spaces
Okay.
with people. Okay, always out motivating and showing up, making sure women feel empowered. Like she said, we
Absolutely.
were just together almost a week ago,
Almost a week ago.
with together, kind of in the same room doing the same things. And so this is who we are, this is what we do. And again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the All Things Menopause Summit, again, where we are educating, empowering, and really normalizing midlife and menopause wellness. So I want to take this moment right now, really quickly, before we bring on our next guest, to just have a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I think I hear a caller on my hot flash hotline. So when we come back,
Ooh,
we're going to take a call from my hot flash hotline when we
can't
come back
wait.
from this. Oh, yeah. You see that? You see my hot flash
See you
hotline?
soon. I
It's
see
going to
it.
be, you see it. But when we come back, we're going to take a hot flash hotline call.
See you soon.
I didn't recognize my own body anymore.
I was exhausted all the time, emotional,
Confused.
No one prepared me for this stage of life.
You're not alone. As a menopause practitioner, I help women understand what's happening with their bodies and how to feel like themselves again. Together, thought I had to suffer in silence until I realized I didn't.
Working with Delana changed everything.
I finally understood what was happening to my body.
I felt seen, supported, empowered.
You don't have to walk through menopause alone. Support, clarity, and confidence are possible.
Your journey matters. Your health matters.
All All right. Welcome back to the All Things Menopause Summit. And listen, we got a beautiful soul that's joining us. She called me on my hot flash hotline. So let me go ahead and reach back here and ring. You called the hot flash hotline, Miss Latalia Palmer. How are you?
I did. I'm wonderful. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling. I appreciate
Well, I'm
you
hoping
calling
that
and showing up on my screen on the hot flash hotline. So I hear you
see.
have
I'm
some
so
questions.
surprised I'm on the screen.
Absolutely. Don't be surprised. Whenever you show up and you call me, I'm either going to answer the phone, come to you, or put you on my screen. You're on here. Okay?
I love it. I
I'm
love it.
going to hang up right here now off the hot flash hotline, and we're going to go ahead and just have this discussion real quick. So you had a question or two that you wanted us to address on today? Okay.
I do.
There we go.
All right. So my first question is about the black box warning. And
Yes.
I want to know, does the removal of the black box warning mean that hormone therapy is now considered safe for everyone?
That is an amazing question, and I'm glad that you posed it. I'm actually going to bring back on one of my guests that was on previously as we were opening the conversation around the black box warning. So I'm going to bring Valeria up because she actually had a couple of points that she was talking about and commenting to me probably about the black box warning. So welcome to the Hot Flash Hotline, Valeria. You didn't know you were going to call back up on stage.
No, I did not. I was so enjoying this. Like,
oh you was, girl. But guess
I'm
what?
feeling motivated.
We had a hot flash hotline call. So we have Miss Latalia Palmer, and she wants to know that since the black box warning has been removed, does that now mean that hormone is safe for everyone? Hormone replacement therapy is safe.
So it's not safe for everyone. It was safe for a large people before the black box warning was on there. But particularly, we'll talk about breast cancer. If someone has an estrogen based or estrogen breast cancer that it was derived from estrogen, they can't necessarily take estrogen transdermal, a patch, a lotion. However, for some of the symptoms, because most of them are put on a estrogen blocker, they can use vaginal estrogen because it's right to the area to help with the vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy, because it's localized. It doesn't go anywhere else. So it really is case by case, but there are more women that are able to use it than most people think that they're not. So that's one specific case where I know I would not do that for a woman and use testosterone as well in that case.
Okay. And that's actually a really good response because Latalia, and you can share this concern with you. So go ahead and share the other part of your hot flash hotline question that you submitted as it related to breast cancer. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Valeria.
That's what I was just about to ask. So as a breast cancer survivor, like how does hormone therapy affect my risk for reoccurrence of breast cancer or any of the aftermath, like a heart disease or stroke or anything like that?
So that's where, and that's a very good question because I'm not sure. And every woman who has breast cancer, depending on how it was treated, what your modality was, it's different for everyone. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I had triple negative inflammatory. And so the only treatments actually that I could have was surgery and chemotherapy, radiation, hormone therapy. They didn't even talk to me about that.
Well, it depends on what is going on with your quality of life. So if you're experiencing different things going on vaginally, decreased libido, vaginal dryness, painful sex, well, you definitely could use vaginal estrogen cream because it stays right there because it's bringing back those estrogen receptors and not having the dryness. You can use lubricants and different things like that. Or if it's losing of the bone mass and different things like that, or you're gaining weight, that's when we would use, we could use progesterone to help you with the anxiety component, the sleep component, or testosterone for some of those other things. So it really is case by case. But one of the things that I do personally is I work with the oncologists. You know, if I know that, I will go to them and make sure we're all on the same page, so that this is something that can help. This is something that, no, I don't think she's a candidate for that. So it's not me independently saying, oh, because my specialty is not oncology. My specialty is hormones. So I need to know your treatment to be able to help you best. And everyone is us. So those are some of the things. But a lot of people, because of the black box warning, because of not having all the information, no, you can't do any of that. And we can't be that way. Women's breast cancer survivors, you survive breast cancers. Now we want you to thrive. That doesn't mean you have to live the rest of your life with brain fog, not having intimacy, not feeling all these things, because those medications will do something. Estrogen blockers and some of those things that they use, they cause all kinds of problems. So we're talking about quality of life and having all options. So you can't just turn your head and like, nope, this is just you survive breast cancer. At least you survive. That is not the message that women need. Well, at least you survive. No, how are you going to thrive after being a survivor? Let's stop talking about survival. Let's talking about thriving and enjoying the rest of your life, that you were able to come through that and be the best version of yourself. And that's one of my soapboxes.
I love it. No, thank you.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. I'm going to let y'all go.
No.
So why were Black women adequately represented in the original studies that led to the warning?
What? I didn't hear the first part. I'm sorry. Why weren't
Black women adequately represented in the original studies that led to the warning?
Are we ever adequately represented in any study? And that's the problem. And that was in any studies. Women are excluded. Majority of most of the studies, they're using animals or they're using male. This was the first one where it was all women, the largest one, and we weren't represented because we're never properly represented in anything. So that is the challenge when you have some of these studies that come out, because it's like a simple test where it's never representative of us. And that's why we need more providers that look like us, that we have our own little studies that I know, my own little research study that I do with my own clients, what works for them and what works better, because we are different. And so I can't account to why, other than that's what they've always done to us, is excluded us and used our bodies for medical research and experimentation, not solutions.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Thank you so much, Latalia.
Thank you, Latalia.
Yes, thank you for calling the Hot Flash Hotline. I appreciate you, Latalia. Those questions were very, very relevant as it relates to even you, Valeria. And I know you probably wasn't expecting that, but she called in on the Hot Flash Hotline. So, I had to take the call. So thank you for stepping back up on the stage and being able to, again, add your information and your expertise around that. So, and the way that you explain it is always so good, and it's so well received, and not even realizing that you were answering about breast cancer and she was diagnosed with breast cancer, so that impacted her. And so understanding that quality of life is important, and that doesn't mean that you're simply excluded from that simply because you were diagnosed with breast cancer. So thank you again for stepping up. I appreciate you. All right, so this is going to kind of just segue me into my next guest that I'm bringing up, Miss Sherelle Flagg. She is a menopause coach as well, and an advocate. And so we just kind of scratched the surface and opened up that little black box as we talked about the warning. And I want to continue my conversation with Sherelle because I feel like that whole advocacy and being able to show up in these places, in these spaces, again, informed and empowered. And really, what does that mean? And kind of, kicking myths and elevating facts is what I want our discussion to kind of be around. So welcome to the All Things Menopause, beautiful. How are you?
Listen, this right here If I wasn't good, I'm great now. Thank
Yeah,
you for
good.
having me. How are you, gorgeous?
I am doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know I always do well when I'm in my element, girl. When I'm in my
Yes.
element, it's just like I'm just feeling like,
I
so yeah,
know.
I'm
On
doing
top of the
good.
world. On top of the
Right. I'm on
menopause
top of the
world.
world. And then being surrounded by, of course, all the amazing women who said yes to the All Things Menopause Summit has just been amazing as well. So
Yes.
being able to do that, being able to continue to empower, do this work, still be relevant, because sometimes it's hard to, be seen and heard in a sea of information out there. So just continuing to elevate my information and then be relevant. So again, I thank you so much for taking the time, because again, it's Saturday morning, so I know we could be doing anything, and I know you are super busy. So I appreciate you as well for showing up. So
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
jump right into it, Sherelle. So what I would like for you to share with the viewers and the listeners and the amazing women that's joining us today, you've heard us talk about the black box warning, how it came about, the study that was done. What I now want you to share, because now that everybody is educated about it, right? Because some people may not know how it became, how it was derived. And so that's why Valeria and I started with that conversation. So I want you to just kind of share, because you're the advocate, right? So your work is a little bit, different as far
Yes.
as that advocacy part of it. So now I want you to just share in what does that mean for us? Because, and the reason I want to kind of just be this the raw part of today, right? I said today is going to be real, raw, and relevant. So this is the raw part of today. Tell us, or what does that translate to in the African American community for women of color who pretty much have been, nope, we've been the ones who've been impacted by that, and we're just like, don't give it to me. How does that shift the narrative now for us that this black box warning has now been removed?
Well, again, thank you for having me. Thank you to all the amazing women that showed up today. I know it's cliche, knowledge is power, but knowledge is truly our stage of our life, which I like to say is our second spring, because we
Yes.
springing up into some great things. Even going through all of the nuances with menopause, this is our second spring. And I think that a lot, and I feel that a lot of our reservations and things come from the history and the things that we had to endure in our history as Black women, not just with dealing with racism and things like that from the past, our ancestors, that gets kind of passed down to us, but in the healthcare industry and systems that are in place, that have been in place, and we're still trying to break those ceilings now, and get the care and the notice and everything that we need from our healthcare system and healthcare providers, being able to have those conversations and feeling safe and things like that. I think that the black box warning being on the box, number one, was very alarming. When you see something like that, and then you see now, fast forward, it's being removed, you're like, well, hold up, wait a minute. Why is it being removed? What is making it safe now? Because you put it on the box. It's like when you looking at the cigarettes, and the Surgeon General has the warning on there. If they just took that off the cigarettes, we're gonna have questions, right? And I feel like our generation now is, we are more empowered. We're more vocal. We're not just sitting back, just taking things. We're going to speak up and say how we're feeling and what we're dealing with. But we have to have the knowledge and the education to do that. This black box warning, it it raised several red flags for me. I'm not going to lie. I don't do HRT. I don't do hormone replacement therapy. I am not, let me be very clear. I am not against it. I am not against women making that choice. Every woman has full autonomy to make those choices for themselves and what they feel they need to thrive and survive and have the best quality of life. But again, you have to have that education so you can make whatever decision that you want to make, right? So this kind of still has me on the fence. Why you put it there in the first place? You know? So this is, as an advocate, I come in, okay, well, let's talk about it. What makes it better now? Like, I hear what everybody is saying. I know that, we had the Menopause Society, they supported it. We had a lot of, healthcare initiatives that supported this. But ladies, we are so underrepresented in the healthcare industry. We are not included in the studies. I think we fall around 5 to 8% and being included in a lot of the healthcare studies, that are being done. And we have to change that. And we have to change that because the trajectory of where we're going and where we're standing and what we're accepting is not the same. It's changed. Correct. So this was done over 20 years ago now. So of course, we're not going to just be sitting in the space of welcoming it, some of us, because some of us are, and that's fine. But we have the right to challenge and to ask the questions and to get the answers that we want to get.
Right. And that's part of why we're doing what we're doing today. Right. And so listening to you with that whole explanation really led me back to trust. Right. And so when you gave the analogy of having a pack of cigarettes and the Surgeon General removes that, warning off of there, do you suddenly just say, oh, okay, well, now smoking is safe, not something that I was indulging in before because it was, bling, 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 flashing red light, don't do it. Now, after 20 years, something is making you think, okay, why is it now safe when it wasn't before? What has changed? What is different? Is it just the knowledge, as Valeria shared before? Is it now looking at who truly was represented in the study, the way in which the medication was administered? The average woman will not do that much homework to understand that, right? If it were not for Valeria coming on and sharing and for us having this conversation, the average woman isn't going to do that much homework to say, oh, okay, well, now I see a little bit clearer why that, warning was placed there or why that happened or what was misrepresented. But underpinning that with, okay, so now do I trust it 20 minutes later, 20 years later, if that information wasn't shared with us before, but now somehow in some way you feel that it's relevant. So you're going to share it with me because now, as I just told you, there's 60-second sound bites about menopause. And so now everyone's, has awakened Phoenix Rising.
Menopause train going on right now.
Yeah, the menopause train is coming through your town. So let me just make sure that we don't miss the train, right? Absolutely. In this realm. So it just lends a lot around, once again, healthcare and how are we supposed to trust the information, trust our practitioners, trust that we, have knowledgeable individuals. Again, Valeria shared another amazing point about how much education OBGYNs, physicians, nurse practitioners, nurses, those very little.
And it's so important. And to your point, when you talk about the women that were included in this study, the average age was 63, right?
Yeah, yep. I think that's what
we don't even know as women that we start experiencing perimenopause in our 30s.
30 years before that. 30 years before the average age.
Exactly. And as Black women and women of color, we experience more symptoms. We are debilitated more than any other race or ethnicity. So it's all about, again, that trust that you're speaking of is so important. And that's why it's important to have women like you and women like Valeria, because we need a team. Right. We don't just need one I always like to say, I have my menopause toolbox, right? Yeah. I need to be able to pull out whatever I need, because I don't know where I'm going to be.
Right.
So we need those resources. We need the people. You need your nurse practitioners, you need your advocates, you need your OBGYNs, but none of them matter if they're not showing up and supporting you and educating you and giving you what you need, right, to thrive in this. Because the key part is that we were not educated. I heard earlier we were speaking about my mom. I couldn't go to my mom. You said that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the only thing I can get out of my mom was, oh, I had a flash. Well, what lady, what
does that
is
mean? What are we
flash?
doing?
Break
What?
that down for me, right? But we couldn't reach back to the woman, our ancestors and our family, or woman that we were close to, because number one, they were not talking about it. They were afraid to have a voice because they weren't allowed to have a voice, right? And here we come and we like, listen, we talking about all, we're not shutting
Yeah.
up, period. We're not shutting up. And we're showing up in spaces like this because we want to feel empowered and we want trustworthy information. And that is my whole thing with the black box warning. You have to give us what we need to fully understand what is the difference now.
Right. And what we call that informed decision, right? Like you just said, you want women to have all the information that they need to make an informed decision, whether you decide to use hormone replacement therapy or whether you decide to continue with, natural modalities, understanding, changing your lifestyle, things like that. Because we're not saying that every woman has to be on hormone replacement therapy. What I'm saying is, if hormone replacement therapy is the answer for us as women to help us to better manage our symptoms and not have to suffer in silence, because once again, we're that ethnicity and that race who, unfortunately, I very rarely, see women of other ethnicities deal with it as rough, as long, and as impactful as we are. Number one, because oftentimes they are much more comfortable with saying, what are my options?
That's right.
And having that discussion, they're offered it usually much more sooner. The labs, just everything happens a little bit, differently.
Yes, it does. It really does. I embarked on my menopause journey by way of surgery. I had an ovarectomy. I had one ovary that was left from, I had a partial hysterectomy when I had my youngest daughter. I was 27 when that happened. And then 20 years later, I'm being told that this one ovary that you have is hanging on for dear life, right?
Right.
And you have to get this out because it's a detriment to your health. Now, when something like that happens abruptly, number one, we were going through COVID at the time, COVID-19. So I wasn't trying to be at nobody's hospital, right? But it was like, no, this is something that you have to have done. I feel now that number one, if I would have been more educated when I was 26, 27 years old, I wouldn't have had that partial hysterectomy, right? But I wasn't given the information. And now when I speak and when I'm coaching women, it is so imperative that we are embracing a full understanding that you have control over this. This is you. This is you. You have, if you don't have control over nothing else, you have control over you. So you owe it to yourself to be able to ask those questions, right? Have those conversations. And guess what? If you're not getting the answers that you want, on to the next. Because we cannot keep settling for the ignorance, right? That the state of ignorance that we're being put in. It's not fair. And we're not offered, like you said, we're not offered these things. It's like they're rushing us in and they're rushing us out.
Right.
No, we don't have time. No, you're going to sit down and you're going to you're going to explain this to me like I'm a kindergartner. Make me understand what my choices are and why. And if you say I can't have it, tell me why can I?
Right.
You
right.
know,
Again,
and say I can. What does that mean?
What are my risks? What am I looking at? Yeah, you want, again, that well-rounded information. What are the pros or the cons? What are the expectations and things of that nature? You really want to go into this having an objective opinion about what it is that you're that you could be experiencing, and then what are your options, what are the pros, what are the cons. And I think once we are better informed, right, about what questions to ask our practitioners, it will help that conversation to really be a two-way exchange. But when we don't know what to ask and we're just being given information, it's not to say that our practitioners may not know. If we go into an appointment and we're not prepared to ask and have the conversation, then you're really not being able to get the exchange that's required because you don't come in prepared. And so I tell them, when I'm talking to my clients, whatever you're experiencing, I don't care how small it may seem to you, that small thing can change how that practitioner may treat you just because you forgot to mention or didn't state that, I'm experiencing tingling. Oh, I'm experiencing hair thinning. Oh, I'm experiencing, ringing in the ears. Oh, I'm like, all of these things by themselves may seem irrelevant, but together, they are significant. Okay. So I have a couple of comments that I want to just jump to real quick as the discussion that we're going along. So we had D. Evans earlier. Delina said evolution. I love that. Thank you. Yes, it's the feminine evolution.
That's right.
Outdated terms and information regarding women's health were handed down to us, which is what you just talked about. Boxed us in, right?
Yep.
And then limited openness to conversation, ideas, and the entire thought process around experiences. You summed that up so good.
Yes.
And that is so true, which is why we're here today. Unfortunately, I talk about the 3 Ps, right? We had no problems talking about our period. We had no problems talking about getting pregnant, but we never talked about perimenopause.
Right.
So that's the whole feminine evolution. I remember as a teenager, you talked about your period and what that meant and becoming, entering into womanhood, having, getting pregnant, but nobody talked about that perimenopause piece, which is just as important. That is the feminine evolution.
So important. That's really, really good. That's really good. My oldest daughter is 32. And it was funny because she came to me and she said, Mom, she said, I don't listen to everything that you say when you're talking about, menopause, because it's like, she like, not me. Like most of us have been, like, I'm too young. I'm not going through that. She said, but there are some things that you have mentioned that I am experiencing. And I'm like, yeah, you need to come on my podcast so we can talk about this, because the woman your age need to know, right? That it's not off. But again, when we haven't gotten that, we haven't had that security blanket that, like you said, perimenopause. It's a huge transition in our life that can last up to 10 years.
Up to 10 years, right? So that's a good chunk.
And for you not to know anything about it.
10
right?
years.
And then some women are getting pregnant during this time, so they're dealing with pregnancy hormones, and then they dealing with perimenopause hormones. It's like a gut punch.
Yeah.
And to not be equipped is just it breaks my heart that we have had to endure that. I even think back when I was in my 30s, like now being in this space, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why. Why
like light bulbs going off.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one other thing I want to speak to that you said is it's important. Any little thing that we're experiencing, any little thing that you said, you might dismiss it and think it's not a big deal, or no, I don't need to mention that, or I told them that and they blew it off, because that happens a lot too. We go in there and we're misdiagnosed with other things because your practitioner might not be well versed in menopause and menopause symptoms. We're getting to a better place now in education, but a lot of them did not have the extra studies in the area of perimenopause and menopause. So I have a journal, which you know about, but I have a whole section in there on questions to ask your doctor. And the main reason why I put it in there was because every time it's time for me to go to my doctor, I waited 8 months to get the appointment. And then I'm in there 15 minutes and I'm out the door.
Yes.
Right.
So important.
I can't remember everything that happened to me from this time that I made my appointment to months later to when I get in that office and I'm getting rushed out.
Right.
So it's important wherever you feel comfortable writing down, documenting things that's happening, things that you might notice that's different. Well, I used to handle this way and now I'm anxious. You know, with normal things that I used to do, I have anxiety now and I can't function the way that I used to. Anything that comes up, write it down.
Exactly.
And have that list so that you go in there. I go in there now like, boom, here, let's
Right.
talk about
Here you go. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
You got something for me? No, I got something for you today.
Right. We're going to maximize this appointment today.
That's right. But it helps us be, more empowered and helps us get to that place of just having more understanding. And
Absolutely.
That's what it's about. Just eating those little, nuggets that we can get to just get us to a better place, a better state of mind.
Absolutely.
In this menopause journey.
Yep. And we have a comment also from Dan. Dan, thank you so much for number one joining us and being here in this space. I always tell my husband, I was like, you're going to learn something every time I go live, every time I'm on here. He's like, you need to have me in the background. So I'm going to let him know that Dan was here. Dan said, I wonder how much the extremely small rate of Black psychologists and psychiatrists in the U.S. play a role in the extended suffering. That's
good.
Is good. That is good. That's why I wanted to put that up there. That is good, Dan. Thank you so much for.
That's really good.
And I believe. Go ahead.
I was about to ask you, like, what's your opinion on that? I have something, but I want to hear what you.
Yeah. So my opinion on that is that they play a huge role, probably unknowingly, because again, how we present, plays a huge role in that. Because we can't articulate what we're experiencing. And so when we can't articulate what we're experiencing, it then becomes difficult for the psychiatrist or the psychologist to understand how to treat us, right? Especially if we're not looking at the biology or the etiology of how we're presenting, right? So I think it's really the perfect storm for chaos. It leads to women unnecessarily being put on SSRIs. And I think Valeria spoke a little bit about this when she was talking about the serotonin and the, hormonal imbalances. So I think because of that, we are unnecessarily giving antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and things of that nature. But it's twofold. So I don't want to point fingers at the psychologist or the psychiatrist. I want to say that what we're doing today is going to help free some people and help to make them better empowered over their ability to express themselves about what they're experiencing. So I do feel like it goes both ways. And what I hope is that there's a more of an exchange rather than the woman feeling as though, okay, they've written me a prescription for, some antidepressant medication or this, but have they looked at the entire whole woman and the entire picture, and have we given them what they need to work with? So Dan, thank you so much for that. That is definitely going to be, the next platform. There's various ways. So there's far deep and wide that I can go down with that. And I actually, will have a on. But Sherelle, give me what your thoughts are in that as we wrap up your session, because I definitely want to get to your giveaway and all of that. So tell me what your thoughts is about what Dan said.
Yes, I agree with everything that you said. I think that number one, we have to be looked at in totality, right? And the end part of what your statement was us also giving, the practitioners what they need. They have to get something from us. We're just allowing them to diagnose us and tell us, where they think we are, but they have to get something from us in order to get that full story. And I think that a lot of times too, in menopause, perimenopause, menopause, we're going in the offices and we start saying how we're feeling, because that is how we're feeling. And then they're trying to just put us on medication. Well, you need you're feeling down, you're feeling, no, I'm having a depressed moment today because number one, it's a menopause symptom, right? And this is where I am. And I don't have the tools that I need to know where I am and to really deal with getting out of this space. And I think too, huge for me, I have to have a Black therapist. I have to have someone that I can connect, with that. And again, speaking to what my needs are, right? So I just think that us in totality is everything. We have to be understood, and we have to be, ladies, we have to show up and be honest about where we are, and not be trying to sugarcoat or and a lot of that comes from being embarrassed. So and that's why I created Pretty Moody, because we needed a safe space, where you can come and no judgment, feel how you feel, show up as yourself and be okay with that,
Absolutely.
and wanting to just learn and be empowered and feel seen and educated.
Thank you so much, Sherelle. And as you see, you can reach her on prettymoody.com. So, but before Sherelle leaves, I want to put up her her journal, and I am going to be selecting a winner because she is donating that as a giveaway. And this journal is filled not only with information, but resources. She spoke about earlier that there was a guide in there for questions to ask your doctor during the appointment. And I talked about how when we get there, we are oftentimes don't know what we should be sharing, what we should be saying, because you could schedule an appointment in January and the appointment may not be until July. So much will happen and occur and shift and change between January and July. So again, that Pretty Moody journal is definitely, and it's also available on her website. I'm going to put her website up again, prettymoody.com. And one lucky viewer will be the winner. Let's see. Let's see. What did Dan say? He said, and thank you. The Baddie Boo crew comes prepared.
I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Love it. And ladies, if I can leave you with my acronym is SEEN. And you heard me say we want to feel seen. We want to be supported. We want to be educated. We want to be empowered, and we want to be noticed. Take that with you every single day. Every single day.
All right. And the random winner is Marjorie Fisher. You win the Pretty Moody journal. Thank you. Great information, Marjorie. You waving. You know Marjorie?
Yeah, I actually, if this is the Marjorie that we follow on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. So Marjorie, congratulations. So I'll make sure that Marjorie, I'll have the assistant reach out to you so that we can get that Pretty Moody journal to you. Let me make sure you get your round of applause. Congratulations, Marjorie. I appreciate you for tuning in again. And thank you so much again, Sherelle, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing. Thank you for creating this amazing platform for us women. We need this, and we need you. So thank you.
Yes, and I need all of you because this is a community, okay?
Yes,
a community. When that hot flash hotline ringing on my pink couch combo, I'm like on all these platforms. However women get their information, I am there on stages, in places, and stick a microphone in my face. I am all about it. Okay.
Well, I definitely know because you popped up on me. So
that's right. I sure did. I got in that car and popped right on up. I said, "You in Delaware? I'm coming."
Yes, I love you, sis. Thank you so much for this, and thank you to the amazing woman. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again for joining us today. All right, so we are coming to a close. I got one more closer. Miss Kimberly Beatty, she is going to come up and wrap all this up in a pretty bow for us, because although we have been talking about what menopause is, what it isn't, what it looks like, how we should experience it, what I want you all to know is that menopause is truly a sacred transition, right? Whether you get there by surgical intervention, through natural, through medication because you were on hormone replacement. I mean, I'm sorry, not hormone, whether you were on chemotherapy, right? That sometimes will put women into menopause. So there's 3 different ways that you can get into menopause. It's natural, surgical, or treatment based, right? And so whatever that transition looks like for you, what I want you to know is that it is a sacred transition and that it is truly the feminine evolution. Valeria did a eye-opening for us. She did several, but one of them was, she said, when you are born with all of what you'll have as far as your ovaries are concerned, right? You won't get any more. This is it. And so my last guess is going to quiet down that noise and help us get to a place where, regardless of if I'm experiencing brain fog or I got ringing in my ears, I got tingling going on in the hands, I got a stomach whereas before I didn't have that little fupa. No matter what I'm experiencing, Kimberly is going to help us to know that this is a sacred transition. So welcome, Kimberly, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here today.
Thank you. Yes. So you see how I segued that right on in, right?
Yes. I love that. I love that transition.
The narrative, that transition, right? And even the way that I spaced out the presenters was in such a way to make certain that it, again, was real, raw, and relevant. I wanted it to be informative. I wanted us to, feel empowered and then just close it out with knowing that it's still this sacred transition. So talk to us, girl. Talk to us about what that transition. Because I think, at first we're just like, ooh, I don't want to do this. Ooh, boom, boom. Forget menopause. I'm fighting it the whole way. But I want you to bring some calm and a little bit of balance to what it is that we're experiencing.
Absolutely. I think we should, if y'all don't mind, just start with just a little breathing. So you place one hand on your chest, the center of your chest, and then the other on your belly. We're just going to do about 3 rounds of cleansing breath. So just inhale through your nose. Open your mouth and just sigh something out. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling through your nose. A nice, wide, orgasmic One more time, just like that. Inhale. And let it all out. Yes. Oh, I really appreciate this opportunity. And I have just been eating all of this up. It's been so good and just food for the soul. So thank you for this invitation. I wanted to share this story. I was talking to this guy, just started talking to him. There were years that had gone between us. We hadn't talked maybe 10 years. And so he, did the whole spin the block and me to get to know this new me that he's been seeing on social media. So he asked me a question. He said, he said, I see you like to talk about menopause. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes. And then he said, do you talk about it all the time? And Delana, I said, absolutely, yes. Uh-huh. I said, I'm over 50. I am a woman in the menopausal transition, and menopause is a part of my life's work. Mm-hmm. But I could tell from his tone, and I could tell from his just from his questioning that he was very uncomfortable with me talking about menopause all the time. Yeah. And he's not alone. Yeah. Right. So a lot of people, or a lot of men, and just people in general, feel that menopause is a woman's issue. Mm-hmm. It's a private issue. Mm-hmm. That it is something that shouldn't be talked about publicly, and that it's something that is very personal. But we know better. right?
Right.
And this guy, just like this guy, so many people are like that. My own brother even told me he was going to unfollow me on social media.
Girl, you talking about menopause too much.
Yes, he did. And it wouldn't be the first time. So I asked him, I said, well, why are you going to unfollow me this time? Because he unfollowed me before. Previously, he unfollowed me because I posted a picture of what he thought was the vaginal walls and the cervix.
Okay.
But what he was actually looking at was a picture of the vocal cords. And if you look at the picture, they do look anatomically similar.
Right.
And energetically, they're very similar, the vocal cords and the vagina. But that's not a topic that we're going to be talking about today. I want to talk about just how important it is for us to see this as a transition. So my brother told me, he said, well, the reason I'm going to unfollow you, Kimberly, is because you talk about menopause so much until now my algorithm is completely shot. And now I am seeing ads about menopause, I'm seeing ads about supplements. I'm seeing ads about medication. And he said, I'm learning too much about it. I don't want to learn that much about menopause. And I just let him know, your wife is going through it. Your daughters are going to go through it. We're all going to go through it. So this is a topic that's not just a women's issue. It's not just a personal issue. It's not just a private issue. As we all know here, that menopause impacts our families, relationships, our workplaces are impacted. Our healthcare decisions and the well-being of our future generations are impacted by this beautiful topic of menopause. But even more than that, menopause is also a sacred passage. I have worked with women for over 3 decades, leading circles, teaching yoga, meditation, and working with young girls around rites of passage programs around puberty and their first cycles. And so we prepared these young girls for their first cycles. We prepared them, we named the transition, we honored the change. But I realized something so profound, and I think you all mentioned it earlier. When I was going through perimenopause, I realized, yes, it's definitely a community issue. I realized that what I taught young girls about puberty, I needed to learn for myself about menopause. The same reverence, the same preparation, and Marjorie Fisher, yes, the same community. I needed all of that. And one of my dear teachers, Sobonfu Some, some of you may have heard of her. She's one of the wisdom keepers of the West African people, of the Dagara people of West Africa. She talks about how important ritual and ceremony is for communities, and how important it is, even in their community, that almost every day somebody was going through ceremony or a ritual, or they were coming out of a ritual. But they had grief rituals, of course, they had wedding rituals, they have all sorts of rituals around just everyday life, especially around loss, especially around grief. However, in our lives, we rarely mark these important rites of passage. And I realized that menopause was one of those rites that we don't clearly mark. And so I'm so excited today just to encourage you all to begin to shift the way we look at menopause. There is a saying that says, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change.
Yes.
And so when we begin to shift the way we view menopause, the way our experience with it will begin to change. My own experience, as I'm listening to the speakers previously, and as I'm listening to you, Delana, all of these issues that we're going through, and even the women in the comments, many of these same issues I've gone through. And I got to the point where I had to ask the question, I had to start asking different questions. One of my pastors, I call him my online pastor Reverend Michael Beckwith, he talks about asking empowering questions. And so instead of asking, God, why am I going through this? And why am I having all these hot flashes? I started asking different questions. So now my question, instead of why am I having this hot flash? My question is, What is seeking to be transformed in me? How is this heat alchemizing and transforming me? What do I need to release in this transformation that I am going through? And one day I was having just these uncontrollable tears, as many of us have shared.
Yes.
I began to ask the question, what have I been holding on to for years? What grief have I been holding on to? What tears have I been holding on to? Because sometimes we hold on to our tears, we hold on to our pain, our trauma, our grief. And this season is an opportunity for us to let all of that go. And so in my tears, I'm just asking, what can I release in this moment? What have I been holding on to in all of these moments? And what can I release?
Yeah.
So I believe it's so important that we begin to ask different questions.
That's good.
Powerful thing is that when we begin to ask these questions, we will get the answer, because this is truly an upgrade. It's not just about decline. Yes, our eggs are declining. Yes, our estrogen is declining, progesterone is declining, but this is also a spiritual upgrade. It's an opportunity for us to tap into and lean into a deeper sense of wisdom and sacredness.
Yeah.
And I found that when we ask the questions, the answers will come. And your answers may be, I need to find me a new doctor.
Yeah.
Your answer may come and say, I need to change this medication that I've been on. I need to change to a different medication. Your answer may come and say, you need a holistic path. But whatever your answer is, the invitation is the same, to slow down and to listen to what your body needs from you now. So even asking the question, what does my body need from me now? How may I nurture myself? We know self-care is different in menopause than it is, you know, in other parts of our lives.
Right.
And so how we change this conversation is by changing the conversation first with ourselves, asking ourselves more empowering questions as opposed to disempowering questions.
That's it.
And showing up for ourselves in ways that we never have before.
Absolutely. Because how we show up, like you said, as we were talking about the transition, and we have a comment here that I've displayed from AW, said, I'm going to change the way I've been looking at this change. See, change and embrace it as a new journey I'm embarking on. That is where I believe that, like what you said, when you make that heart-centered and that mind connection, right? The heart and the mind connection of changing how you are embarking on this new journey. That's where it starts. And asking yourself different questions about what it is you're experiencing. That's the empowering piece of it.
Absolutely. And it's so, when we do that, we begin to tune into a deeper sense of wisdom that's been there all along, but it's just waiting for us to tap into it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so this sacred passage, this sacred transition is really a remembering. It's this combination of all the things that we've gone through, the experiences that we've had. It's an opportunity for us to stand up in a stronger and an even greater level of leadership in our communities.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the things that I believe is definitely important is to create these micro communities, because I love the big online communities. That's where I met you, Delania, online on the menopause, in the menopause community. But I believe that we need to create some micro communities, even within our, in our families.
Yes, I was getting ready to say intergenerational. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even if you have some girlfriends that went to college with you, maybe it's your sorority sister, maybe it's somebody who went to high school with you, you're all around the same age, you're going through very similar things. Start to create little micro communities of seeing each other, hosting little rites of passage. I don't want to say little, but hosting intimate rites of passage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like to use intimate,
yes,
more intimate.
To see each other, to celebrate each other, just like in the Dagara people in that community, they celebrated every rite of passage. So they the girls looked forward to their first bleed, and the women looked forward to their last bleed. because it was all a part of an upgrade, not a linear path, but a very cyclical path. When we begin to honor this as a cyclical path, as this rite of passage, everything shifts.
Yeah.
We go from treating ourselves as though we are just the second class citizens to viewing ourselves as queens, as sovereign, those with agency. You know,
even just how you explained that, like envisioning what you just said, right? Celebrating your first bleed, right? As we talked about, puberty prepared us for our period. There needs to be a preparation for perimenopause, because all of the things that happen from that point of having your period to that point of perimenopause and everything in between, that's what leads us to the feminine evolution. And like you said, that's the part of us that we should be, honoring and looking forward to and saying that it's sacred, because all of those things that happened in between, right? There's a thing of womanhood and there's a thing of passage that happens when we have our first period, our first bleed, and then all of the experiences, whether it's trauma, whether it's, the understanding, all knowing, did we bear children, did we not, like all of the things that happen in between, we have to honor those things, recognize those things, embrace those things in order for us to understand what's happening in this phase of what we are experiencing. Because as we talked about before, perimenopause, and Sherelle mentioned this, can last a decade or more, right? So that is a long period of time that we are experiencing things, and that things are still occurring while we're experiencing this reproductive shift.
Absolutely. And what's so beautiful is what you have created here and what many of you are doing, and that is creating community. Because we've got to be able to hold the hands of our sisters and our daughters as they cross over the threshold into perimenopause, into menopause, postmenopause, all of that, and really begin to see each other. There is a word that I learned from one of my sisters who's from South Africa, and it says it's called sawubona, and it means I see you. And so we need sawubona ceremonies to see you, to witness each other, to let women know, I see you. You're not alone. And
the light hasn't been dimmed. Your power hasn't been diminished, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I see you. I see you.
Yes. And when we lean into all of that, there is so much more of an upgrade. Like right now, I just feel like I can run a mile just because I'm so excited. There is all of this passion that's reignited. There is purpose that's reignited. I stopped public speaking probably for on a larger scale and on a regular basis for about 7 to 8 years. And then just recently, I had an opportunity to do a TEDx talk, which will be available in a couple of months. And it just reignited everything.
Wait a minute, hold on. We got to do something about that. Hold on. That's huge, Miss Kimberly. Okay.
Thank you.
Gotta celebrate that.
So, and I can't wait to share it because I was talking about menopause, and I believe when you watch it, you're going to never see menopause the same way. So it's definitely going to be impactful when you watch it. But I put a lot of that to the side, and this whole where I am right now in menopause, and just having all of my passions reignited again, and it's just a beautiful thing. And so I believe that, my heart aches and my heart breaks, and I want to say to all of those who are suffering right now, maybe you are on medication, maybe you're not on medication, whatever you're going through, I want to say sawubona.
Yes, Sawubona. I see you.
You, sister.
Yes.
I see you.
I love that.
I believe the wisdom is there for you to get the help that you need. Whether that is, like I said, medication, whether that is some supplements, whether it's a combination of both. But the wisdom exists inside you. And when we slow down to start to ask the questions, ask more empowering questions, then the answers will come. So I want to invite you today to ask a different question. And maybe you can put it in the chat. What question is coming up for you? How will you ask a different question? Maybe it's, what does my body need? Maybe it's, what is seeking to evolve in me versus looking at what's diminishing in me? What's seeking to evolve in me? What passion is being stirred in me in this season?
Right. I love that. I love it. I love it. I, as she said, see you, right? We see you, and then we invite you to ask the questions. Ask the questions. So that is so empowering to end our session on, right? Is I see you, and then be empowered to ask the questions. So everybody is saying that, yes, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for showing up. I'm going to put your website up again. And then I'm going to see if our other guests are still here. I think one of them had to jump off, but I want to just quickly bring all of us on stage before we end today. Y'all can tell I'm usually doing this later in the day, today. Well, it depends on when you're listening to me or where you are in the world. Could be tonight. But I just want to say thank you again to those of you who stayed on the entire time. And just really quickly, I know some of us may be in transition. I think Sherelle transitioned, but I want to bring you all up on stage. I think Mahisa had to jump off, and just say thank you so much for taking the opportunity to join me. This will not be the last time. I'm hoping that at some point we can all be in the same room at the same time.
Yes.
Look, if Delana has anything to do with it, it will likely happen.
Right.
So again, thank you both, Valeria, for kicking us off, Mahisa for picking up the ball, and then Sherelle for passing the baton, and then Kimberly for closing us out, saying, I see you, and asking the questions. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you for the gifts that you brought to today. And want to just say thank you so much. Again, if you are connected to me, know that this is not the end. This is not the last that you will see nor hear from us with the All Things Menopause Summit. So at the conclusion of today's All Things Summit, share this link with anyone who is in your circle. Share it. Let them know that there are resources out there for them, for you in your community, that myself, as well as the beautiful women who join me, are available for you, to you. We do consultations virtually, depending on where you are. You can come and see us actually in person. So there are resources for you at the conclusion of today's All Things Menopause Summit. Okay, so just know that if something resonated with you and you want more information, again, I had all of their contact information up there. So make sure that you reach out to one of us, because we are definitely here to help you. Okay, so again, thank you so much for joining. I am Delana Watkins, the Wellness Maven, your menopause GOAT, and I am here to serve you. So I appreciate you all sticking around. I appreciate you for interacting with us. It was amazing because that truly helps me to know that what we're sharing is impactful and that it is reaching the women who deserve it. So again, share this, share it far, deep, and wide, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. From my heart to yours, thank you. Thank you for making space for yourself and for each other. You showed up, you listened, you learned, and you reminded all of us that we are not in this season alone.
Today, you chose growth. You chose knowledge. You chose yourself.
I'm honored to walk this journey with you. Stay connected, stay empowered, and remember, your best season is still ahead.